We're joined now on the phone by Femi Awoyemi, who is the CEO of Proshare Nigeria. Morning, and thank you for joining us, Femi. And looking at this suspension, so many issues arise. Let's get your perspective first and foremost. What do you think, or what did you think when you heard about the suspension?
Well, like most Nigerians, I felt that at some point in time, the confrontation in respect of the discussions around the revenue of the economy, the role of the CBN and NNPC was going to come to a head. I recall being on your program the other time and we spoke about it. My initial reactions were, however, as follows. One, if it is a case of a timing, this was a poorly timed decision. Secondly, the rationale for it, with the allegations from the Federal Reporting Council, like I use the word reporting council, those play rather very, very lousy in respect to the seriousness to which the implications for Nigeria in terms of the autonomy of the CBN governor, in terms of it being perceived as a response to recent comments on the leakages in the oil sector, and that the focus on the person as against the institution is also rather very, very damaging. Personally, I felt this was a decision that I can process really fully well.
Yeah, but if you go on and further consider the comments from Dr. Abati, that of the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, and some who also say, look, what do we then do? Do we, because for fear of wrong timing, just allow these kind of things to go on? Because even the CBN governor said he was surprised that it took so long.
Well, you see, my tendency is to move away from the drama. And there's so much drama going on, whether he said this, whether the person, whether the individual did that or not. Look, my own position has always been this, that truth must be said. The Lamido Sanusi, at the risk of contradiction, tends towards being a propagandist in terms of his reputation as a solutions provider, who chooses to want to make a stand, a definite stand in terms of how the role of the central bank in reordering the economy is ordered. If that is outside the mandate, there is also what you call the responsibility in the office. The CBN governor's role is far beyond what the individual Lamido Sanusi is. So we must separate the two. If the CBN governor was going to step down in March, but the government needed to, quote and unquote, teach him a lesson, I think this is a very expensive lesson.
Why did he come out? I mean, is it really teaching a lesson? Because from the comments coming from them, they are basing this suspension on recommendations from a council and not just unilateral action, and queries coming from the president, the secretary to the government of the federation. They all are attached to all of this, talking about what they think is wrong. And in fact, the comment was an ongoing investigation. So how does that sit for you? How do you perceive it?
Look, I was privileged to listen to the legal mind that you brought on, and I think he said it all. If you take a look at it, I'm sure that the CBN governor is perfectly within his right to either walk into the sunset or to help the institution and the whole country by let us testing how this will go. And I think it will be a welcome development to see how that will go, because we also have those in government who make some decisions tomorrow to understand that whatever you say concerning the Financial Reporting Council, a very well-intentioned institution, by the way, and who has been doing a lot of good. But then vis-a-vis the provisions of the Central Bank Act. Now, if the Central Bank governor is found to have done something wrong or has been discovered to do something wrong, what does the government do? Again, these are part of our learning opportunities that we know that if, in spite of that, there are so many examples around the government, and the government has always found a way to understand that it cannot move against certain things or certain persons. My take on this is simply that it is not only shocking, it defies deep reasoning, the logic of it. Now, if you find him very guilty, then say so that he's guilty. If he's not guilty and you are investigating, then find other ways to do so. I do not know. I cannot recall anywhere in between Section 5 and Section 11 that gives a provision for suspension. I'm sure they would have acted on that legal advice, and the legal advice would have created some basis for their action, hopefully. But I cannot find, and I'm sure that it's interesting for everybody. Now, the international community's reaction, well, we can place that within another different context why they will react. But the whole Naira has fallen far lower than it has in 15 years in one single day. That should tell you that this action has huge consequences. Hopefully, the thinking by those who took this action is that this will go away in about a week or two. But I can assure you, it's in the record books right now. And this action would have to be tested as part of our strengthening our own financial services sector and as the institution of the CBN, which remains about their own independent one. Now, this is not to say that those who are challenging this decision condone a situation whereby a central bank governor would act with impunity. No, that is not the case. It is also the case that we should be looking at how to deal with such situations, and this whole process may help us in developing that.
What do you think the government should have done? Should they have waited maybe till his tenure and then what? How should they have approached this to prevent how the market is responding?
And actually present it and follow the due process. They can present the case to the Senate on the basis of the following allegations, which have been substantiated by apparatus of government, that this gentleman needs therefore to be removed. And then the Senate will have the problem of saying that they would refuse to act on the basis of clear evidence. We cannot, in trying to sort the problem out, go outside the norms. That would be a more commonsensical approach. But these things are not about common sense. Sometimes they're about emotions. But we cannot afford to allow emotions to redirect every action of government.
What will be the way forward for you?
We are hopeful that the central bank governor would make a position in terms of helping the whole process through. We see that if he decides to therefore go to court, it will be in furtherance of helping the process of institution building. It will also help both the government and the market itself to understand that Nigeria is still a nation ruled by laws. It would also mean that going forward, the discussions will focus less on the individual and rather on the issues. If there are concerns in terms of the individual, but of course, there are concerns in terms of the individual. But then we should move beyond whether you like the person or you do not. Look, let's take it this way. If in the middle of a position of a whistleblower, and you take an action like this, you risk being seen as trying to prevent the discussion. Don't forget that it's not only just the CBN, the key principal actors around the petroleum issues are paying consequences. Now, which means that the government, in some way, is passing an unintended message out there. That is of more concern for me. Look, Sanusi's tenure is ended, technically. Whether now or not he would have handed over or sent in his notice of that will be leaving is not going to be renewed. It shouldn't be the issue. We have more serious issues on our hands as a country, and in terms of the economy. The decisions by central bank has not been should I say, very accepted by everyone. Some of the actions are not really like everything, but that's how it works. That's how it works. This particular decision for me is that it's more of a reaction. You do not say because you suspect someone, you suspend them. We've seen the examples from this government in terms of where people have allegations and they haven't been suspended. And so we would like to just see that as a country, it is important we all put together now and try to protect the sovereign interest in Nigeria. And at some point, we would all come together and see that. But individually, as part of the nation building and institution building.
It was a day of emotion.
All right, Femi Awoyemi is the CEO of Proshare Nigeria. Thank you very much indeed for speaking with us today on Sunrise Daily.